Hello and welcome in Amulet Podcast Season 2. My name is Valérie Demussy and I am a French entrepreneur. I work with my family in a group called Upgrade and I am the art director of this family business. I am also a coach in creativity, style and image. And yes, welcome in this podcast. I am so excited, guys. Here you will find a safe space where we can talk everything vulnerability, authenticity, freedom, what it means to be human in this world that sometimes doesn't make sense. I will have amazing guests that are so inspiring because they are either true to themselves or just strong through adversity or just human beings that are able to share with you their intimacy. So thank you very much for being here. And of course, you can find all the episodes of this podcast on our website, upgradepodcast.paris/amulet. And of course, I am available on Instagram, Valerie DGMS, or @lesjooms. Well, you can find me anywhere. So one rule for this podcast: if you loved it, if you felt it in your bones, in your soul, you have to share it with at least 2 people, because that's how I make this podcast grow. Thank you again for your attention, your time, and just your presence. And let's do it. Welcome in Amulet Podcast Season 2. Hello guys, and welcome in this new episode of Amulet Podcast. I'm Valerie and I'm really happy to be here, your host. And today I am with an amazing girl, actually a sister. We went to the same business school years ago and we met again this summer, and with the new versions of ourselves, we were like, oh my God, this is how I see life. This is my struggle. Me too, I'm living in this shit. How am I supposed to survive? And here we are today in a new podcast with Candace, who is going to introduce herself, because the main question that I'm asking at the beginning is, who are you right now, Candace? Hi.
Hi, Valerie. Thank you so much for having me. I am in transition. That's a short version.
Yeah.
So the definition of who I am is under construction, work under progress, and work in progress. Sorry, and I'm loving this process. I hate it and I love it at the same time because it's scary. It's a little bit painful because you have to fight against yourself on a daily basis to become who you want to become and not being another version of who you was. And at the same time, I'm in love with this process because it allows me also to connect with beautiful areas of who I could be that I've never connected with before. I feel more connected to my feminine energy.
Yeah.
I feel more free, like truly free, because I transitioned from my 9-to-5 job at the UN and this long career of fabulous 9-to-5 position to deciding to stop and do something on my own, following my heart, working with women, coaching, empowering people. And as scary as it is, the freedom that comes with that, and waking up in the morning, setting your intention and designing your day based on your intention, it feels a little bit like magic. So of course there are scary moments because at the end of the day you need to pay rent, following your bliss and all that. But it feels like a spiritual journey that I wish every single person have the opportunity to experiment at some point. So yes, I am in the process of falling in love with parts of myself I never met before, and it's beautiful.
That's one of the best love stories you can have, I feel, to fall in love with yourself, to understand that you're lovable and you deserve to feel the love, the unconditional love that only you, I think, can give you. You work for it. Like work, I don't know if work is the right term, but if you like accept it or if you honor yourself, then you realize that this love is like the most powerful one. And once you have it, at least once you know the way to get it, because sometimes you can, I think, lose it, then life becomes magical. Then you understand your magic and your power, and that you can have anything that you want. You can become everything that you want.
Yeah.
So for the English speaking, we were first of all talking in French. In the first part of the episode, we were talking about how we were impacted by being this perfect little girl syndrome. And so we covered a lot of aspect of it. But right now we are coming to one of the nicest part of it, because we were talking about relationships, guys, and what it means for us to have to carry that weight, because I think it was a weight for both of us. I'm sure there are amazing aspects of being this good little girl, because it gives you, as you said, like structure, work ethic, and blah 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 blah. Okay, that's good. But in the other way, it's like you are walking with only one leg, because you just want to please everyone
Mhm.
and you don't even know what you want.
Yeah.
So we were talking about the fact that in the relationship that we were, like abusive relationship that we had in our past, we were waiting to be chosen by
Yeah.
someone who was not good to us in a way. And so what do you think about that? What what does it bring to your mind?
It's it was almost triggering hearing
Yeah.
that. So I've heard that in before, but in the context of this season, I mean, and this conversation we're having, it was triggering before because it made me realize how deep is the conditioning of the
Yeah.
perfect little girl. Like, okay, you got the good grades, people are going to be happy with you. You make the good choices, people are going to celebrate you. Make choices that are convenient for the people, you're going to be you're going to be accepted. And
Yeah.
I never realized how much it was the case in many of the relationship I was, never asking myself, like assessing my own worth and what I brought to the relationship, but always being in the position of, like, even if at some point, let's say the guy was super enthusiastic and getting to know me and all that, at some point, once I became interested, I shifted directly to, I hope to be chosen. I hope that
Yeah.
at some point he's going to do the right thing and pick me. And especially coming from someone who deals with anxiety,
Yeah.
um, it has been an interesting journey understanding where it comes from. And I've read or listened to something recently you said that anxiety comes from who you identify with
Yeah.
at your core. So if you identify with a victim, with a defenseless little girl, with someone who has been abandoned, even if you were in the position of power in the relationship because the person was enthusiastic to be with you, etc., etc., but at some point, um, just having that fear of, oh my God, is he going to call me back?
Yeah.
Oh, I hope he calls me back to validate me, to validate the victim. And the little girl wants to be accepted in me. Uh, it's insane because at the end of the day, if you are aligned with the goddess or the princess in you and you know what you're worth, he may he will call you. Why wouldn't he? Like,
Yeah.
if you like him, you're going to call him. So why wouldn't he call you? If he doesn't call you, he might be inconsistent or not interested, which is his choice. It means that he has not been able to recognize your value, and therefore that's okay. You might not be for everybody, and that's perfect. Or or he's dealing with his own issues, and you don't have to deal with that. But if it even if it's easy to say that rationally, I think there's always this battle
Of
between
course.
our rational self, who is acquiring the knowledge, and the little girl in us
Yeah.
that is very much alive, who reacts sometimes in very like primary
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah.
And in this season, I have the feeling that I, I may never get rid of that little girl, but I will know how to dance with her, like
Yes.
hear her scream, like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this guy might be a fuck boy. He's gonna destroy your life, but not react. Be
Yeah.
like, I know you're scared.
Yeah.
You're probably scared because of the past. I don't know if that guy is a fuck boy, but I'm a big girl. I can save myself. I can set boundaries. So
Yeah.
the worst thing that can happen is I'm going to be disappointed. And I've been disappointed in the past, professionally and personally. I'm not gonna die. Let's
Breathe.
breathe and
Yeah.
let's go bake a cake. Just me.
Yes. That is the best line ever. Like, just let's go and eat sugar, you know?
Well,
Why
attends.
not? Like,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, I'm really with you with the dance with the little girl. For me, I'm now she is such a part of me, and I'm making sure she has everything that she needs and deserve. So whatever she feels, sometimes I'm like, I have a picture next to me of myself, like I'm 6 and I'm smiling and I'm really, really cute. And I'm like, sometimes I'm looking at myself and I'm like, okay, what do you need? What do you need that I'm not giving you? Because I don't want you to be like going crazy. Like, you know how kids go crazy when you like, you don't acknowledge them, you
Oh
pretend they're
yeah.
not here, they go crazy. So I'm like,
Ah,
okay, I know I've been working hard or blah, blah, blah. What do you want? And sometimes she's like, yeah, we're working all the time. I want to party. I want to see my friend. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna call this and this. We're gonna go out. I need to take care of her and to make her understand that I am the person she needed when she was young and she was like feeling alone, because it was a feeling, because she was not alone. I mean, my parents were there. They were doing the best that they could, but I need to tell her right now that I got her. And so we are dancing. Like it's a dance with her, but she's dancing with me, because sometimes she's the one who giving me the advice. She's the one who giving me the wisdom. She's the one who's reminding me what is important to me, because she knew all the way. She always knew. And that's, as you said, the conditioning that we have in our life that made her think that what she wanted was not valuable, because she had to be the perfect little girl. So the perfect little girl is the one who won't embarrass her parents, who won't shame them, who will make sure that, oh, we're gonna say, oh, your daughter is in Lesec. Wow, amazing. Wow, right, Lesec. And you are in this school and you don't even feel like it's your place to be, because you're like,
tell me
what?
about it.
Yeah, what about it? I feel like it's a mistake that I'm here, but whatever. I'm at Lisek. Yes, sure. Um, so it's, yeah, I also want to honor her as a
Yeah.
person, because she's the small girl, but she's the older. I'm
Yep.
the version that I am right now. She's so young, like few months is old. My little
Mhm.
girl, she's been there for 31 years.
Yeah.
So she know what she's talking about, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And what you said about your little girl, it's exactly the relationship I have with mine, and it's a fairly recent relationship. I think we have had this relationship for probably a year and a half.
Yeah.
Before, I wasn't acknowledging her existence. I wasn't aware of her existence. I would say, like, not fully aware. Honestly, I had to talk with a kinesiologist, who
Mm.
is some sort of therapist slash energy,
Yeah.
something. I don't know which crisis or level of anxiety I was going through. It was when I arrived in Geneva, and I was like, I feel lost and disconnected, and I'm full of anxiety. I have anxiety regarding relationship. I am extremely uncomfortable regarding my professional life. I feel disconnected to my purpose. I am sick all the time.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And that's when she started the conversation about the little girl, and even being like, sometimes even when you meditate, sometimes just visualize yourself going down to meet her and she's alone
Yeah.
somewhere, and go and ask her the question, what do you need, how do you feel, etc. And to begin with, I was like,
What the
how
fuck
do I
are you
do
talking
that?
about?
I'm telling you. And at some point it makes sense. Now it's something I don't have to meditate to do that.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as I feel a little bit off or a little bit stressed, I was like, what's going on with the baby? What's going
Yeah.
on with the kids?
Yeah.
Let's listen. Okay, you know what? Let's sleep. You know
Yeah.
what? Let's go for a walk. You know what? Let's try to have a good conversation, like wholesome conversation with a friend. You know
Yeah.
what? Let's not think about this right now. Let's focus on this. And
Yeah.
that's the best relationship to work on, like being aware of the little child in us and thinking about what that child needs, because we are so distracted, busy pleasing the man at work, the relationship, the family, the obligation, our fake representation of who we are, like, oh, I'm a project manager at so and so, so I need to represent, I don't have to sleep, and I need to have lack of sleep, I need to da 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 da. That's where crisis happen. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm totally an advocate for taking care of the inner child. This is like super, super essential, and I hope more
Yeah.
people deep dive
It
into
is.
that.
It is, and I don't think it's something about just women. I think, you know, we were talking from the beginning about being this perfect little girl, but it's the same for the men. Like also have this pressure.
Mhm.
It's about being a child and having to be perfect and having to live up to the expectations of our parents who
Yep.
themselves, as you said, have not done the work or have been maybe have been the disappointment of their own parents. So they're like, okay,
Hmm.
heard a quote that really struck me was a child is not a legacy. A legacy, I don't know how you say that.
Woo!
Yeah.
Legacy. I've read that. I have read that. A
Yeah.
child is not a legacy. Yep. And I remember, I don't know, I think it was the same post where the person say, "Do you know who is Shakespeare's son?"
Yeah.
Most people don't. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Build your own legacy.
Yes.
Stop making your children a tool for fulfilling your unsatisfied, like a tool to compensate for your lack of courage of
Yeah,
building your own life. That's what most people do.
that's true.
I totally relate with that legacy quote, honestly. And what you said about the little child, the male little child, I think that's why you also see many men of African descent that are successful having a healthy relationship to work. You
Yeah,
know, um, those who work, they work really hard.
they do.
Like whether it's at school, whether
Yeah.
it's at work, they work
Yeah.
like dogs, and it's all about making money, make it achieve because the village is looking, society is looking, especially even worse for those who live in the West, because when you live in a white society as a black man, you have even more to prove, even though you don't have necessarily the level of recognition that you deserve for the work that you are doing.
Yes.
Um, it doesn't also it doesn't always give you the ability to work smart, by the way. You can work very hard
Yeah.
while Jean-Baptiste or Ashton over there
Yeah.
is cruising at work, taking drinks, having drinks with colleagues from times to times, and having the promotion
Yeah.
you wanted by working 5 times less than you did. You see what I mean? But it's
Definitely.
also, I think, that craving for recognition when it has been instilled in your mind by your education and your community, because you are supposed to be the light of the family who's going to make the civilization thrive or something like that. And plus, if you live in the West, where as a black man you are marginalized, you have the microaggressions and all that and all
Yes.
that, validation from corporate work, from the white man, from society, from your boss, become way more important than what is important, which is your health, your mental health, your relationship, your family. I read this book from a Harvard alumni. He's a researcher, and he said that I forgot his name, but he said that most people, like, if you do a presentation, if you create a new product, if you give a lecture, you are validated by that. Like people will
Yeah.
say there is something that people can validate you for, like good job, good job. But in reality, being at home early enough to connect with your children or help them how to learn how to read or potty train them for them not to use diapers anymore, nobody is going to give you a medal for that. You
Yeah.
know, like teaching your kids not to touch fire, nobody is going to give you a medal for that. And it's a tiny, tiny, non-valuable work that you do on a
Yeah.
daily basis for a marginal result. Whereas staying late at work gives you that sense of, oh, when I will give that presentation, I'm going to get praise. But people don't realize that the long-term satisfaction comes from those relationships. If you have a
Exactly.
beautiful relationship with your kid and your kid is happy and balanced, you are more susceptible to be happy on the long run and have glory and abundance in your life than being a white collar slave at whoever corporation, being trapped in the rat race of, you know,
None.
whatever you are doing.
Yeah.
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
Yeah, this is so true. This is so true. And in the meantime, it's so hard to be able to detach ourselves from that because
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
when you are here and you don't have that anchor of the villages and your culture and your civilization, you like you need to be attached to something else. You have to switch your value, not your value system, but your um how do you say that? To you need to switch how you're gonna grade or evaluate what is the success part.
Yeah.
So you're gonna switch, and of course you're gonna get into the matrix. It is what it is. The matrix is really, really strong,
It's true.
and to get out of it, it's really hard. And I feel like once you decide or when you try to get out of it, people will punish you for it.
Oh, so true.
Yeah, so I feel for myself, not being in the corporate world whatsoever, but the more I became myself in the beginning, the more people, some people were like, what? Ew, Valerie is where she's weird. What's going on with her? Shaving her head and wearing like I at some point I was wearing, Fela Kuti wives. They had like those dots in the middle. I was
Oh,
doing that every single day, like white dots in my
wow.
face. I think it was an act of rebellious because I needed to stand out, because for me, being the perfect little girl also meant in a white high school and a white, like private Catholic high school, I wanted to
Mm.
blend so much because I was already standing out as the only black person. So black person, black big thighs or bigger,
Mhm.
bigger lips, bigger nose, bigger features in general, and I was trying to blend. So after that, I went out, and before going to l'ESSEC, I was in the university like La Sorbonne. So it was
Mhm.
kind of okay. Wow, there are black people everywhere. What? This is a new
Wow.
word for me. And then back to l'ESSEC, which is yeah.
The
But
total opposite.
yeah, it's the opposite, and yet I found my tribe there. I created my own tribe, and I think you did
Yep,
the same. And
I
and
did.
then, yes, and then for me it was a great way to survive and also to thrive,
Oh
because
my
now today I'm those girls that I met that are my sisters today. They
God. Mhm.
allowed me to be who I am. Also, they helped me shape myself, and they were there the whole time when I was transforming, and I was like, what is she doing? But they were still here.
Yep.
So, but for some other people, it's not the same. And sometimes they are the closest people to your heart. For instance, my father, I feel like me not having the relationship that I want to have with him, which means having a relationship, it's also because at some point I was like, okay, this is where you want me to go, but I'm going to go left or right.
But yeah, but that's how you become who you are. Sometimes it's
Yes.
drifting away from what your parents want you to be. That's something I say so many times in my intervention when they ask me about, oh, when the African family and da da da. I said, you become an adult once you decide to disobey your parents, actually, to
Yes.
make your own choice, your own mistakes.
Woo!
And no, until then, you're just your parents' kids. And you have people that are 50 that are still their parents' kids,
They
because
are.
they never find a way to themselves.
Yes.
They wanted to conform more than they wanted to their being themselves, and that's unfortunate. What you said about blending,
Yeah.
it reminds me. I was already a young adult when I came to ESSEC. I was 26, uh, but I was still very much that little girl who wanted to blend and wanted to succeed and be the good black girl.
Yeah.
So I was all about, straight hair. I shouldn't have any,
It-
like kinky hair showing,
Yes, I know what it is.
perfect makeup, the perfect outfit, because you are in a prestigious French business school and they may tempt you to be racist. But if you are dressed well and
Yeah.
your hair is straight and you hide your Cameroonian accent as strongly as you can, like just transform yourself into something that you are not 100%, this space may celebrate you. Didn't happen. But I managed to find my way to have a foot in the door of white corporate world and build up my career, my international career from there, which was great. But I think a few years ago, I went through like some kind of crisis where I felt like I've been playing a different version of the ideal Candace in so many different circumstances. I had like some kind of burnout
Yeah.
where you're like, I'm done with this. I'm done
Yeah.
with this. I'm done with this. I was like, I'm not relaxing shit.
Mm.
And I was never into like nappy, da da da. I'm not that girl. I was just done. I
Yeah.
just realized that why am I subjecting myself to that? Oh, I have to relax. And then I have to wait. And then I have to put the weave. And then I have to, da, 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 da. I want to be free. I'm not relaxing shit. I'm going to have hair like that. And to begin
Yeah.
with, people were confused. Like, Candace, you need to go to the hairdresser.
Yeah, that's the worst
Do
thing to
not.
say. No.
I do not. And it was my act of rebellion. What you did with the white dots, my
Yeah.
act of rebellion was like, I'm not relaxing. Like, I'm not relaxing. And I'm not putting gel on my edges
Yeah.
either. I have like super kinky hair. Why am I required
Yeah.
to, oppress what I was born with? Where you have white people out there who just wake up like this and they can go to work. No, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna deal with this, But the little girl, the little girl syndrome, the perfect little girl syndrome has so many facets to it.
It
It's
has.
amazing.
It
It's
has.
amazing.
That's true. And so, okay, we said that he had an impact in the way we stand for ourselves, in the way we dated, in our career words. What about the sexuality? How did being the good little girl had an impact in your sexuality for the part that you want to share, of course?
You will be surprised, not much. That's
Yeah.
probably one area where I didn't, for I think a very simple reason. One thing that I have observed through my childhood was the fact that, like my parents were married the entire life, at least until the death of my father. My mother never left. She had many opportunities and many reasons to. She chose not to. My father as well. So they were married for, I believe, 26 years. My father as well stayed in his entire career working in a company at a job where he didn't feel neither valued, neither fulfilled. I
Mm.
think that was 23 years,
Wow.
24, I don't remember, his entire career. And he went to Sciences Po and Dauphine, like prestigious French schools. So making the choice to spend your entire career working, feeling undervalued in a company somewhere in Cameroon, in EDEA,
Yeah.
I had very early examples of people settling for something that is not working for them
Yeah.
and just staying and complaining instead of figuring out something about that. And I decided very early on, and my mother was married at 17, so obviously my father
Wow.
was the first man in her life.
Yeah.
Um, I decided based on that I never felt like promiscuous or something like that. For some reason, I was never overwhelmed by my hormones or something like that. I was like, you know what? I just want to go to school and get out of here. Because also, there were not a lot of inspiring boys in my
Yeah.
little town of Edea, Cameroon. You see what I mean? So
Yeah.
I, I've decided very early on that um, I am not going to be, I'm not going to marry virgin.
Yeah.
That's conscious decision I made, even though I wasn't out in this street doing my thing. So I embrace the fact that no, I want to have experience. I want to have experience. I want to meet people. Nice positive experience, ideally. But before I met the person I'm going to spend my life with, I want to explore, I would say. So it didn't, thank goodness, it didn't really manifest. And for some reason, I was always very free in my mind, as long as I mean, free in the sense that I'm a monogamist by essence. Like I love, as I told you in French, I love stable
Yeah.
monogamist fulfilling relationship. Like that's where
You feel the best.
I
Yeah.
feel the best and I express myself the best in all shape or forms.
Yeah.
Um, and because I know that and I'm aware of that, when I feel that I'm in that kind of relationship, it allows me to express myself fully, whether it's in terms of affection or in relation, sexually or whatever you want. So yeah, that's the one area where I felt like I've always be myself, or as much as I'm myself as the relationship allowed me to be.
Of
Is
course. Yeah.
mm.
That's funny that it's something that you decided intentionally not to marry virgin. I feel like it's such a not a bold move to make, but just like a bold thought to have. Like, hell no! Like,
Yeah, I
I
know. And then,
yeah, I can be
and
the
as a girl from, I was in primary school, so I wasn't even sure what that entices,
yeah,
like, but I know that my mother never had boyfriends or something like that. She
Yeah.
just, they were like, hey, this guy is coming from a good family. You're not from a bad family. Maybe you
Let's go.
guys need to marry it. Yes, works for me. It's, I was like, I don't believe
Okay.
in that exclusivity, because that's where, like, my analysis was like, that's where you get possibly manipulated, thinking that that's all you deserve, and
What you can
I
get.
want to have a fuller picture, and I'm infinitely grateful for that. Even though as a little girl, surprisingly, I was just a bit judgmental, you know. Like, I had my uncles and my aunts living in my home. They were like the bigger sisters. They were teenagers, hormonal teenagers, doing all sort of things. I was super judgmental. I was raised to be a judgmental, conservative kind of person, which I am in many ways, to be honest. But that's the one space where I was like, nope, not gonna do that. And in a way, I'm grateful that I got that example to free myself and not be too set in my ways, I would say.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've never thought about this. About for me, it was. I think it was never a question to marry, being virgin. It was not even a question. Like,
Yeah.
say what? I mean, I was raised watching Dawson and everything, so everyone fuck around. So I'm not gonna. And except, of course, it was not about me fucking around. That was not the point. I think I think also I'm a little bit conservative. When I hear you say, I'm a little bit like this as well. But I'm a fun conservative. Like I explore and I conserve. You know what? So it's like, yeah, okay, I'm not gonna have sex with the first who's coming, and I'm not judging if that's your thing.
What
That's
you do.
just not mine. And the more it's funny because the older I get, the more I'm like that. The wiser I am towards that. I feel like in this path, I'm a really good, perfect little girl, in the sense where I'm like, we're not gonna like, no. Because not because I don't want to have fun or pleasure or whatever. It's just that my body and my soul, it's a temple.
Oh
So
yeah.
you don't get into a temple in Asia uh, dressed like you were going to a party in New York City. No. Okay. And you watch your behaviors, and so for me now, I'm like, no, I can't. Even though I could the most right now, because I feel confident, more confident. I feel like I know my worth. I feel like since I know my worth, the men that I thought were inaccessible for me right now, I feel like I'm like, yeah, I can definitely, like, I can charm you right now. I can do it because I know my worth. It doesn't mean that maybe he doesn't want to do it, but I'm not afraid that, oh no, he's out of my league. What? No, no. And funny, so the more you have the power and the freedom of the rebellious, the wiser you get, and you're like, but I love to be what I love that.
Yeah. I
that
don't have to be reckless with my body and mind and heart,
no,
actually. I can
I
take care of
don't
myself.
have to. Actually, that's my choice, and I think there are seasons, because maybe few seasons before I was not like that. For me, it's dance, and I don't know what the future holds. Maybe I'll go all crazy again, but I
Yeah.
don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think so, and that's why, in a part, being the perfect little girl, I think I value some part of it. I do value some part of it. But in the sexuality part more, and it's the same thing as being able to say yes or no, or just also about being able to say, this is what I like, this is what I want. If you want to please me, this is how it's supposed to be. Because for me, I will automatically try to understand how it works for you, how to please you, and make sure you are having the best time of your life, because I want to be chosen. Remember?
Oh, here we go again.
So yeah, and so it has been hard for me to put, okay, so it's a dance with my little girl, perfect little girl, perfect, but sometimes there are stuff that she doesn't need to get involved in, and sexuality for me is a part of it, because if she's gonna be like, oh my god, what, you're gonna ask to do what? Yeah, but that's, sex is about exchange of energy and pleasure, and that's a connection. So if you don't ask for what you want, or if you don't say how you like it, how do you expect it to get something from it? and
Mhm.
you're just gonna give and give and give and give. Is that what you want? Of course it's not what you want. So shut up.
But it comes back to this thing that perfect little girls struggle with is boundaries and expression of needs,
Yeah.
right? Do you struggle with that at work, saying that, you know what, Oga, I'm going to leave at 6 p.m. because that's what is my contract and I want to have a life. And
Yeah,
hey, I need to have more flexibility because my kids, because my yoga practice or whatever. It's the
exactly.
same that happens um, with family. Like, hey, I need you to boundaries. I'm not going to fund your lifestyle because I live in France and you have the impression
Oh
that
my God,
I
yeah.
have unlimitless pockets.
Yeah.
So if you want to love me for who I am and call me and ask me how I'm doing, let's do that. But besides that, I'm not sponsoring anything anymore. All those things that you are not accustomed to, if you don't pay attention, it meets you very naturally in the bedroom because there is no witness,
Yes.
but you, possibly the person, and maybe the person may not even be aware of all the decisions and the sacrifices you are making in your mind, like, okay, how should I please him? How should I? Instead of being like, okay, what do I like? What do I need? And how
Yeah.
do I find the lingo to express that?
Yeah.
It's
And be
beautiful.
in that present moment, because when you are thinking about how to do that, you're not you're not here. You're just not
Yep.
here. And how can you
Yeah.
have sex and not being here?
Mm. But what you said about the temple part really hit me because
Yeah.
I have been in several, not myself, but witnessed several situations, friends going through like a crisis of I'm free now and I'm gonna do whatever I
Whatever.
want, and that so-called freedom felt painful to me to witness.
Yeah.
Like, wow, but this guy, you were not in a relationship to begin with, and he literally called you at 11 p.m. Like you were not even flirting, and he called you at 11 p.m. And this is, it doesn't feel right to me. I'm
Yeah.
not in the situation, but it feels hurtful.
Yeah.
And but I couldn't really put words on it, but it didn't felt right. And what you said about, to me, the true liberation, the true freedom and liberation, as you say, really comes when you realize what you worth, who you are,
Yeah.
and you intentionally, consciously decide how you're going to manage your tempo and
Yeah.
not reacting. Because sometimes what we call liberation comes from anger and resolve issues, the need to be chosen, or sometimes there is also a history of abuses. And, like
Exactly.
sometimes when you've been abused in the past, you tend to, it's like you're punishing yourself again, in a way for what happens. And you decide that, okay, it doesn't matter. It
Yeah.
shouldn't matter. So I'm going to do it again because
Yeah.
it
And
doesn't matter, or
whatever.
something like
And
that.
whatever.
There are a lot of things that could be impacting that. And
Yes.
I really love the idea of a season where you decide that, hey, so like something that I remember, speaking of tempo, when I was younger, there was this thing like, hey, you should wait at least until the third date to be intimate with the
Yeah.
guy. And I had to say that I got the third date, you still don't know the guy. Like, I mean, unless, I don't know, with exceptional circumstances, exceptional energy that happened, to me, looking back at it, it made me angry that someone in literature decided that
Three.
third date
Yeah.
was
Good. Yeah.
arbitrary number,
Yeah.
and that you may have women who didn't feel like, it's not right, it's not the time yet, or it was right maybe 2 days ago, who cares?
Yeah.
But
It
you
doesn't
are
make.
not
Yeah. Definitely.
you are not taught to listen to the right thing in order to move forward, or to set the proper standard in order to move forward. They just say, like, third date, here we go. Oh, you're 30, you're old, or you
Yeah.
have all these standard arbitrary
Yeah.
things. And that's why this conversation, I think, are important, because I hope it helps more people to be self-aware and make decisions based on, know themselves, and make decisions based on their inner wisdom
Yeah.
and their own, well-being and true needs, than just matching what society or the friends at school or whoever has told them to be right.
Yes, definitely. And also by being your own temple and by honoring your temple, you also allow the person in front of you, so the man or the woman, depending on your sexual orientation, to do the same. Because if I am the temple, I also think that you are. And you not seeing that makes me also decide that we don't have anything to do together. That's it.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
was not in that shoes few weeks ago or a few months ago, so it's something new, but it's a value that I want to stand by because it's so important, and I don't want to settle for less, and I don't want people to settle for less because the world is so abundant, you have no idea. But when you are in a scarcity mindset, you feel like, okay, I am 30, 31, 37, 30, 40, and I'm not married yet, and I don't have kids. Did I waste my time? Did I waste my life? What am I supposed to be as a woman? And I'm like, yes, okay, you can, sometimes you can feel like, oh my God, the time is rushing if it's what you want in your life, but you also can decide not to want it if it's not what you want. And your timing is yours. No one is living your life. You are. And whenever you'll be ready and whenever this shit is supposed to happen, it will happen. Just trust yourself. Trust your gut. Trust your
Trust
uterus.
the
Trust
universe.
yourself. That's so important. And that's the conversation that I'm teaching my little girl every day. Girl, trust yourself. Don't rush. Don't be afraid. Even in situation where you feel like things are getting out of control, you know the way. You will find the way. You have always found the way.
Trust the process.
Trust the process.
Mm, mm,
Yeah.
mm, mm, mm.
Oh my God, this is such a I knew it, but yes, we talked when was it Monday last week. We're like, okay, how are we gonna do this podcast because we have so much to talk about. How are we gonna make it happen? And yet here we are. We managed to be concise and yet impactful
We
to have some
managed.
quotes.
Oh wow.
Oh my God.
I thoroughly enjoyed this. It was
Yes.
so amazing. I love having these conversations. For so many years, many of the conversation that we had, interviews were very much, I would say, corporate driven, very fitted to the corporate roles
Yeah.
I was in, and the perfectly the girl, like first of the class, good job, very tac structured. And there's something infinitely liberating
Yes.
and fulfilling in having real conversation that are truly impactful, that
Yes.
have the power of making us think. And it's a little bit like therapy as well, like
It is.
just within the frame of this conversation we
Definitely.
had, they were a little bit like, oh, I
Yes.
need to go and think back about this, I need to
Yeah.
go back and think about it. And I feel like what I feel right now, I hope that the people who are going to listen to it just feel at least a fraction of that. And
Yes. Yes, that's definitely the goal with this podcast is to maybe these are the conversations that you don't dare to have in your own circles of relationships. Then maybe listen to people who manage not because we are superwoman and you're not, but just manage because of the circumstances are in their life to have this conversation and are free enough to share it with the world. Then if it can help you figure something about your life, even a slight part, then I think that our mission is accomplished.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah,
Yeah. So
I
thank
think
you
so.
amazingly for your time, your honesty, your truth, because you have a way to say things. Like you're not afraid of just speaking your truth. And I think it's really, I would say brave, but I think it's just honest. And I really appreciate it. I think I will keep on looking up to you and be like, okay, this girl, she's a go-getter. And it's not like I'm projecting like the perfect women on you. Like it's just that you are shining through the whole of your imperfections and then the light is like
Oh,
beautiful. Yeah. So thank you very much. Appreciate you.
thank you so much. Those words means so much to me because it's we fight this battle on a daily basis
Yeah.
between who we want to be and the imperfect version we are right now. And it feels so good to feel seen for
Yeah.
what you are, not what you pretend to be.
Yes.
And it's also I'm happy that people recognize the power of honesty and vulnerability, and I hope that more people bring that on the table when they show up in public spaces, in this conversation, in their work, in their families, and for us to be a better society and better families.
Yeah. So thank you very much, guys, for listening. And of course, if you want to work with Candace, like, go for it. Like, if you need help and you are a woman and you feel a little bit lost in your career and you feel like she can help you in your way, in your path, just, reach to her and ask her, and she will be there to help you. And of course, you have amazing stuff coming up, right? So feel free and make sure you follow her on Instagram. Is it the place where we can find the most information about you, right? Like,
Yes, definitely. You can go on my Instagram at Candace Nkoth, CANDACENKOTH, or go on my website, candacecott.com/hello.
hello.
/hello.
Perfect. We will put all the information, of course, so you can see. And until then, guys, thank you again. You take good care of you, and remember that this is your life. So if you want to have it a certain way, just make it happen, because you are magical, you're powerful. And for us, we're going to keep on doing that because we don't have time to waste. Thank you. Bye, and have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Upgrade Podcast, a company from the Upgrade Group by the Drums, presented Amulet Podcast, a podcast that allows you to become a magician and artist of your own life, presented by Valerie from the Drums, artistic director at Upgrade and certified coach in creativity and image. Go to upgradepodcast.paris to discover all of our other podcasts. Have a nice day.